is is why we feel the need to shorten it. For me, I don't care that it's a mouthful. What I love, it is a clear differentiator from a marketing standpoint. It is brilliant. You know exactly who you are talking to. This is child-free women in their 40s. I know immediately whether or not I am in that group. And I can choose to listen or not. And I may choose to listen because I have a good friend in their 40s that's child free, or a sister or a sibling, or whatever the case is, right? So I'm just not sure why we're trying to shorten it. I love it, just like it is. I don't think it's a mouthful.
Well, the thing that's embedded in what you said, it's joyful, childless, child-free women in their 40s. Like that was the tone was like is embodied in how she gives her. So that's what she's saying. She wants something that's pulling her toward, and I don't care if it's in the words, but it's clearly not like because I'm dealing with infertility. No, I'm a joyful, by choice, childless woman in my 40s. Yeah.
I love that. And I think that group of women is looked over a lot, right? And so if you shorten it and take it out, then all of a sudden it becomes really fuzzy, and you get all of these other people with opinions that really don't suit the mission of the podcast.
Yeah. You can take it out later, right? Like, Wilson?
Yeah. No, and I said people who are curious will still listen to it too. So I don't think, and I think it's also nice to kind of signal to someone that maybe some of these tips is coming from a place that is not considering people, like considering the trade-offs you have to make when you have children. So knowing that, even as a person who has kids who might be listening to it, it gives clarity around, yeah, it might work, but it might not work for me and maybe I need to seek feedback or thoughts somewhere else. But I'm sure there's gems out of it. And there's people who are willing to, people might just listen to it because like, what does this child-free woman have to, you know what I mean? And you are being able to be clear. I like it. And I agree. I love what Joelle said. What's the big deal if it's a mouthful? I didn't think about that. So that's why we need Joelle in the room.
I don't know. It's just interesting. I think there's tremendous societal pressure too, to have kids by the time you're a certain age. And I think that it goes way beyond biological clock, right? It's societal pressure. And so I love the idea of somebody saying, yeah, no, we're good, right? Like we're doing this and we're good. And so I would hate to lose that in your face part of it, because I think that's important.
There is no better moment than right now, right? JD Vance is like put it in everybody's face. So, and that made everybody look at the statistics. 80 to 80%, 86% of of women in the US have a child by the time they're no longer in childbearing years. So it is a small group. I was telling Ken, like people make assumptions about that group, that they don't have a stake in the future and stuff like that. So yeah, I think and then she's put in there the right time.
Yeah. I mean, I like that too. That's cute.
We love it.
It's really about this guided journaling podcast for the child-free woman in their 40s. I love it.
Sounds like we love it. Is there anything else we want to reflect on? I'm looking at my notes from last time. Bringing the podcast into her job. Go ahead.
I wish I asked this as a question, but maybe we'll hear back when she's giving her. Is your focus, because I know you're very clear of who she is. That's one thing I've learned. When you're saying childless, it's not people who are now recently in empty nesters, which I think they would probably resonate towards the podcast as well. But is that even in your frame of reference at all? That's just a thought, a curiosity thought.
The chances are, if that's the case, they're also not in their 40s, right? So I would fall into that category. But I am not in my 40s. That's been a minute. That right? That's been a long minute ago.
That's right,
Um,
though. If you had your child at 20 and now you're 40 and that child is at college,
Yeah, I have a couple
but
friends in that boat, so that's why
26,
I was.
26 is average, I think, in the US for your first child. So,
yeah. Okay.
but then
Yeah.
you're not child free. I mean,
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry, but you're not child free.
No,
The
you're
way
not.
parenting is being done, you're not child free. You are temporarily free that as long as there's no pandemic or your child's house hasn't burned down. Yeah, you got to call yourself something like else, like non-parent or something. No caregiving, no elders, no young people, free of all caregiving responsibilities. Well, I consider that temporary because you never know about your siblings. But that's not her target audience. Is people are not doing caregiving. It's people who
Yeah.
haven't decided to have their take on raising a young person, I think.
Yeah. So what
Um,
do we lose if we took those things out? Right? If that's the question, what do we lose? Or are there other words that could be taken out? I think guided is assumed. If it's a journaling podcast, it's kind of maybe. So I'd rather lose that than others.
mhm.
I wonder if the right time, although I love that title, is the
Mhm.
right title for this podcast because I think it puts the focus on something different than what the podcast is. If
Mhm.
I looked at that title, I would assume this was about writing,
Mhm.
and it kind of isn't, even though it's
Mhm.
about journal.
Mhm. Good point.
You know,
Yeah.
I'd almost rather child-free and loving it, right? Right?
Right. This is like turn to AI and give you 400 titles for my podcast. I bet you're gonna like one of them, Charity. AI is definitely your friend on this one if you need. Yeah, it's gonna give you a few that are about cat moms, but whatever, that's fine. It's in the
Right,
zeitgeist.
40s and free. I don't know,
40s
but
and free, yeah. Who needs AI when we got Joelle's great brain? Free to write, free to make things right, free to, yeah,
yeah,
write life,
yeah,
write your life
I like that too.
as 40 and free. Recognizing your, yeah. She's gonna figure that out. Yeah, I also think I love that she's decided to reinvigorate this podcast as a way to find something she's looking forward to and a source of joy.
Absolutely. I love that she uses child-free instead of childless.
Mhm.
I think that was a brilliant word choice. And as I think about what she was talking about last time, I think there are ways that she can incorporate, I mean, you know, if you think about Victoria's Secret and that whole line and being sexy and being, you know what I mean, all of these other
Mhm.
things that you still want to
Mhm.
be throughout every stage of your life, are there ways to let those two merge a little bit or let the lines be a little bit fuzzy,
Mhm.
right? And let it help fuel her career as well as this other piece of her, which is really about creativity and expression. Other thoughts?
Just looking over my notes from last time. Just around booster sponsor at work and making the work situation so that it is it is in some way a source of joy and a source of forward movement for her. I mean, yeah. Life is too short to suffer in my mind.
I agree.
Don't give up on making it work and getting support. Okay, so it is a Zoom thing to make that weird noise. I kind of like it.
That was hilarious. experience. Oscar?
Oscars, like, get off the stage. Stop talking. I don't care if you need to thank your dog and all of the other people you knew in kindergarten. Get off the stage.
That is so funny. I was like, am I the only one who hears this? Oh, you guys. I tell you, bravo. Just like the Oscars, bravo. Joel said, I don't care that it's a mouthful. The reason, okay, I got 2 seconds. The reason that I am very, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but I'm thinking of the mouthful. People could never explain my podcast before, and it drove me crazy.
Yep.
It was like, it's this, it's that, well, kind of this, kind of that. And I'm like, I want it to be like 3 words or like, 2 words. It's like, this is not the same thing, but like Amazon or Google, like you can just, what it is. So I feel what you're saying and you're totally right. But that is why I'm like, I don't want it to be this thing that nobody can explain. Granted, it's super specific. And again, for marketing, I love marketing, but you're right. I wanted her to feel like, oh yeah, I love guided journaling. I'm child-free. I'm a woman. I'm in my 40s. Boom, she's talking to me. Like, I love that piece, but it's the length of it. So I think I'll explore that a little bit. Child-free is specific. So childless is kind of, it talks about someone who, like, maybe they wanted children and they don't have them. Child-free is very specific, like child-free on purpose. So that's very, very intentional. I'll leave it be. Filson, you asked me something and I wrote it down. I thought I wrote it down, but I clearly didn't. I cannot remember. Oh yeah, empty nesters. No, I'm talking about child-free women who, nope, it was a no for me. I opted out, that kind of thing.
Let's
and to
listen
your
to your
point-
language as well. Opted out.
Well, yeah, I got that from my cousin. We're
just still workshopping, and Joelle's like, point us toward it in your title. Sorry, but I just want to coach you old school style here of like the right time for who, for what.
Yeah, I'll look. Oh yeah, that was the other piece. The title originally it was just guided. I wanted it to be super, one word, guided, boom. But I was like, So yeah, I'll it'll be what it be. I'm gonna start recording on Monday, so it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
I'm not a fan,
and I can tweak it. Go ahead. You're not a fan
girl all over the place, but guided girl. So I'd love for you to get more of that essence in the title so that people can remember it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's another thing. I want it to be memorable.
You might have to say it more often throughout the podcast, right? And also provide other avenues for people to easily tweet things, right? There are all kinds of tools now that you can say, hey, if you love this message, go to our website and retweet the whatever. And that it just becomes, this is the community, right? The podcasting community for child-free women in their 40s. That's not that hard to remember, especially if you say it several times throughout the podcast.
Well, and I wanted to make sure that it didn't get lost in the guided journal. Like the piece of it that is the most important for me is the guided journaling. The 4, but I hear what you're saying, because
journaling, whatever.
Yeah, and I thought about that too, because even though I'm like, oh, this is just a passion project, marketing wise, I'm like the marketer's dream, because you're like, who's your audience? Child-free women in their 40s. Boom. So it's like, it's very, specific, and that's a great thing. But yeah, I will look at the title. Are you saying 57 seconds, or are you telling me to shut up?
We're on break. Yeah, we got to stop.
Oh, okay. I'm shutting up.
Yep. See you in a minute. We need a break.